All right, YouTube, I'm back here with another video today. I'm starting a new book. I started a new book. I'm almost done with it actually, but it's called The Four Agreements. It's a Toltec book, and I believe it's by Miguel something. I forgot his last name. I got the book with me right now, but this is just chapter 1. I took notes on the book, and I just tried to grab out the main important things that I found, and some of them is like actual like quotations, and some of it is like reworded. Like, I just reworded some of the things that my favorite points from chapter 1 of the book, and it's called Domestication and the Dream of the Planet. Now I'm gonna read off all my notes, and then I'm gonna go into a little more detail as I go through. The first main point I found, it said that it was talking about dreaming, how basically you dream while you're awake and you dream while you sleep. And when we dream while we're awake, we see things like a linear way where it's just, one thing after the other, like chronologically. And then it talks about this idea of a societal dream, like the dream of the planet. That's the more the term they use. And basically, the dream of the planet contains societal standards, rules, religion, and cultures, and things like that. Now, the next point is everybody dreams. The outside dreams uses our mother and our fathers and schools and religion to teach us how to dream on our own until it catches our attention. In the book, it was talking about this concept of attention, and it's the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on what we want to perceive. That's how we learn, through repetition. And humans develop a need for attention over time and become very competitive. You see this with people. I think it's more common when you look at like your siblings and stuff like that. Has the youngest sibling after they're born, and like I said, the sibling that was born before them, it's like it's a competition type of thing. Even what's the movie Rugrats, and Rugrats, Tommy, in the movie he had a little brother. I forgot his name. I don't know if it's Deal or whatever, but it's basically when he was born, he was jealous of him being born because all the attention that he had from his parents was now going straight to him, and he was getting left in the dust basically by his little brother. And I about to say that's in the plot, and then the plot of the movie goes through there. And then in this chapter they explain what an agreement is, but they use it through an analogy. Like, think of a page of a book. Everybody in the world understands that is the page, and that's only like the physical manifestation of the piece of paper, and the compilation of papers is one single page. Is one single page, and everybody understands that, and nobody will ever try to deny it or try to go against it. So that's the first thing of what an agreement is. But to tie it back in, we make agreements with everything. Agreements is something that's very subtle. It's not something that I think as a humans, we think of agreement as this one thing, but it's not really. We think of agreement as an agreement, like a mutual understanding, but it's more conscious. It's not like a automatic type of thing. A group of people or two people have to constantly come to an agreement. But in this book, they explain agreements as something that just happens. It happens automatically and sort of like telepathically. It's not said, but it's a lot of mental things that go with it. Like, I don't believe they don't get into it in this chapter yet, but they speak about how your beliefs. If I believe I'm an ugly person and somebody come along and tell me I'm an ugly person, I form an agreement with what I think and with what they say, and it reinforces that I'm an ugly person. And those type of agreements, like I said, those are rooted in negativity, and they are speaking very negative. They create negative agreements, and that's another thing they speak about in this chapter as well. They speak about this idea of white magic and black magic. Or is that the next chapter? Hold on. But yeah, let me look through the notes. Maybe it's the next chapter. But yeah, basically, yeah, they were speaking about how, magic and white magic. But also, the next point is they were speaking about how evens, I think I think when in human terms we think of people being domesticated as like not people but animals being domesticated, and we never think about humans being domesticated as in like little children being brought into the world. Every second of the day, a new kid is being brought into the world, growing up in society, and like I said, being bombarded with positive and negative images, and those images creates vibration, and it creates these what's the word I'm looking for? It causes people to suffer. And in the chapter as well, they were speaking about how people, like I said, through domestication, they learn how to, in early child development, this is how they learn a reward system and a punishment system. And they speak how basically, I think everybody really wants to be rewarded, but eventually people don't want to be punished. So eventually, like I said, as kids grow up, they start to be what they not, so they don't be punished because of fear of rejection and fear of just not being accepted by people, and just, let's say, their parents, even that. And it's sad. I think I know from my own personal experience, that's something that, as I look back on, is something that's very true. You know, you start to hide yourself and you start to act like you're not this and that, and you do it just because you want to make somebody, it's a people pleasing type of thing. You want to make sure people don't judge you. You want to be accepted. And like I said, and in the long run, you're not gonna get far trying to be accepted by everybody and just not being yourself. You know, you're doing your only thing you're doing is doing yourself a disservice. Now back to the chapter. Another thing they spoke on is the idea of agreements. We only store information by agreements. If we don't agree, we will not store that information. Like I was saying earlier, like if I don't believe something, like if I believe I'm the sexiest man on this planet, and somebody say you ugly, I won't believe it. If I truly, honest to God, at the bottom of my heart, believe that I'm a sexy individual, and somebody tell me I'm ugly, like I said, it's gonna fall straight off me like a force field. And I'm about to say, a lot of people don't have that. And, you know, that's honestly something that's a blessing, but, you know, that's beside the point. I think another part of domesticating children is, as people believe, as children grow up, they believe everything that, you know, that their parents tell them, you know. But eventually you understand. I think this is like it's not even an understanding. It's like every child will rebel, whether it's subtly or blatantly. Every child has in them to rebel, and I think that's just learning to become your own individual. So, you know, and I think that is vital. I mean, the word that a lot of people learn is no. I'm about to say, in the book is saying no is like a freedom word. Like that's the only way you can get your freedom back is by using no. And the next bullet point I got was the reward feels so good when we pretend to act like we are, well, when we pretend to be what we are not. So we just don't get punished, rejected, and like I said, at least it's not feeling like we good enough. And yeah. And then they speak about this idea and this beliefs, our inner belief system. And basically our inner belief system is something called the Book of Law. Now, the Book of Law is just truths, our truths, like in quotations, that we have learned growing up. That are not really our truths, but really our parents' truths, and, you know, societal truths that we believe is true, even though, like I said, they may be wrong. One thing about those type of truths are we believe that they are honest, they are safe. Even if they're wrong, they're safe, and they can do honestly no wrong in terms of keeping us in suffering. And in our Book of Law, we have something called, we have an inner judge, and we have an inner victim. And our inner judge, whenever we do something wrong that goes against our wrong Book of Law, or just our Book of Truths, we start to convict ourselves, we start to talk down about ourselves, start blaming ourselves, we start speaking bad about ourselves. Oh, you guilty, you're a loser, you're a coward. And then the victim must, feel ashamed and things like that, will agree with it and be like, yeah, this and this and that. I am this, I am that. I am some dirt. And that's speaking negatively of yourself is something that's very detrimental to your own personal development. Speaking from my own experience, I about to say loathing and just being in the gutter is good for nothing. It's very much a time wasting type of thing. And if you stay in that space and just allow yourself to keep beating yourself down, you will never develop. And you most definitely can't let nobody else beat you down. Later in the book, they speak about something about nobody condemn anybody else to hell. Only people can condemn you to a deeper hell. You can take yourself to hell, but nobody can take you there. They can only push you in deeper. And I honestly agree with that. Nobody should ever be allowed to take your own mental state and just take it down the hill. I don't know. In a way. And they were speaking about how true justice is making you pay once for your mistake. But in this world, let's be honest, everybody, for the most part, is experiencing injustice. Everybody is paying multiple times for just mistakes they made for, just stupid things, And I think that's just how the mind cultivated in many ways, like if you just in an environment where you're not allowed to make mistakes and just move beyond it, you'll keep being stuck. You'll make a mistake and you'll just fall back into like a bad pattern, just being stuck in the gutter and just judging yourself and condemning yourself, I was about to say, we have an inner judge that just judges us if you're guilty or not and punishes us, and we think about those mistakes all over again and all over again. And that's what causes us in this internal loop of suffering. Like, it's like similar to Buddhism, if I'm not mistaken, is the Dharma. I'm gonna check it later. I don't want to say that, but I don't want to be butchering the religion, but I believe it's called Dharma, and that's like the just the loop of everything, of the suffering. They said 95% of our beliefs are lies and based in guilt and fear and negativity. The dream of the planet is normal for humans to suffer and to live in fear and create emotional dramas. And then it said, like I said earlier, you can't really put people, you can never put somebody in hell. Somebody has to put their own self in hell, but you can put them inside deeper hells in terms of mind state and just mental, I think it's mental fuckage, let me say that. We learn to dream hell in our own lives through our own mental, like I said, repetition. Whether it's, like I said, bad talking yourself or just participating in negativity and just partaking in just things that's clearly not good for your own well-being. One thing they said is we don't really see the truth because we are blind because of our own false beliefs. The Toltecs called something called mitote. Your mind is a dream where 1,000 people talk at the same time and nobody understands each other. I think when I read this, I really felt that on a deep level. I was really just I always felt like it was always something going on in my head. Like I said, I'm starting, as of now, I don't feel like it is like that anymore, really. Like I said, it's really just like a couple of people talking now, and it's really just me, and they all talking, trying to get on one accord so that I can truly realize like what I'm supposed to do with my life. But at a certain point in time, like I said, 1,000 people, if actually used to feel like 1,000 people just talking and just everybody just talking and nobody is listening. Like I said, and that type of environment is just chaos and nothing really gets done. So yeah, the next point was our biggest fear is taking the risk of being alive to express what we really are. So we live in other people's demands. We create this image of perfection that is not real, and it's never going to be real, and it's never going to be perfect from this point of view. I believe I made a video on 48 Laws of Power about perfection. And I know that's something that, like I said, I think it's just that was more a personality thing with me. I always wanted to be perfect. And not perfect in the perfect sense. That makes sense. Be perfect in like I think I didn't want to do no bad. And I understand that living life means you can, but it's going to be pretty hard to not live I don't want to bring a lot of harm if I don't have to. And that's already how I live. And I think I always try to live life in a good way. I want to live life in an honest way, but I know eventually if I'm going to get somewhere, I'm going to have to do some, not truly terrible things, but I'm going to do some real selfish things and heartless things. And, yeah. And being perfect and trying to be perfect is never going to, being perfect is not real. So me trying to do that, I'm trying to do the impossible, and eventually I will fail in trying to be perfect. All I got to do is really do my best. And that's another thing that happens later on in the book that they explain in one of the later agreements about doing your best. If you do your best, you should never want to. If you do your best, perfection is like non-existent. You wouldn't want to. You're not striving to be perfect anymore. You're just striving to do your best, and your best is going to change and vary depending on your mental state. You know, perfection is impossible. Mastery is possible. Perfection is not. I'm gonna say it's always gonna be something to improve on and just get better at. So mastery is something that I think I'm more shifting my brain to and trying to understand more of. Is mastery. That part. Not being perfect is like it's not a side effect, but it's from people not really being able to accept themselves and just always rejecting like any portion of themselves. From my experience is you reject yourself for not being good enough. You think that you'll never be good enough in the sense of just people. Being good enough, like I said, this comes from just people let's be honest, I'm about to say, not being good enough stems from just neglect and just abandonment. But you gotta understand that not being good enough is something that's universal. A lot of people feel that they are not worth anything, so they want to be perfect, they want to be likable, and they want to be the best. They want to be the top. They want to be perfect, and like I said, that's a losing game from my own experience. Like I said, you trying to be perfect, but it's to what end? This is the hamster wheel. And next point is eventually the domestication that I think that the world put on you is gonna become self-inflicted. It's sort of like how people don't have to be racist anymore because, like I said, it's people hate themselves. So I was about to say Kanye was like, it's like real estate. It's like real estate racism. I was about to say it works on its own, and they don't really need a person to cause it or start it. Well, of course you need somebody to start it, but now that it's working on its own, it's working automatically, and now nobody have to maintain it but your mind and the way that you think and the way that you speak. But yeah, I believe that's something that's very strong in this, and that's part of the reason why a lot of things loop, And it was speaking about abuse. I think I liked it when it was speaking about abuse, and it was like, basically, if you think you're not nothing and somebody comes along and treats you like you're nothing, you will be willing to accept somebody to treat you like dirt. I don't think that's something that's good. I honestly don't think it's good. I think that's terrible. But that's real shit. I mean, you would take a lot less than what you honestly believe. Well, no, you would take less than what you should have. Let's say that. Because I'm about to say a lot of people deserve love. People deserve honesty. People deserve integrity. People deserve safety. People deserve a lot of things. But like I said, if you in them bad mental space where, like I said, you just believe you don't deserve anything and people just, and you just feel like you're worthless, and somebody come along and treat you like you ain't shit, you feel like they are doing you the favor. And really, that's not the case. When you're really doing yourself a disservice. And, you know, it's very abusive is one thing I can say. They say a lot of, like I said, as you get older, and like I said, you become an adult, these agreements you start to form are really starting to form by your own self, and through your own mind, and through your own actions and your thoughts and just your life. And I think with that, just they start off this book, like, you have to understand that you have to gain some courage to be able to really not fix these laws, but be able to break the laws that you have like been growing up to. You gotta learn, you gotta reparent yourself in a way. You have to learn to love yourself, you gotta learn to appreciate yourself, you gotta learn to really take a step back and just be honest with yourself and give yourself an honest appraisal about your mind, do an inventory in your mind, and just really take the time to be honest with yourself. And you got to start breaking, you know, they be saying like breaking generational curses and shit like that. You really have to start breaking that loop. I was about to say, you have to break the loop so, you know, it don't continue tomorrow and like with the next generation and, you know, the next generation. And along with breaking these loops, you got to understand that with every agreement you break, like I said, let's go back to the word agreement, you have to, when you break them, you're returning personal power to yourself. Now, I didn't get to the first agreement yet, but basically with your personal power and breaking these agreements, you regain that personal power so you can control your life and control your destiny in a way. And with doing that, you got to have a strong will, and you got to be very courageous. Now, I'm be better prepared for chapter 2. Like I said, I just wanted to record a video and just get my thoughts out and free my thoughts up a little bit. But the first one, chapter 2, is gonna be called "The First Agreement: Be Impeccable with Your Word." I actually like this chapter a lot. I'm not gonna lie, and it enlightened me a lot. And I'm gonna come back with y'all on another video soon. I'm about to upload this straight, and yeah. Thank you for watching. Got any tips about YouTube, or you got any comments? Just put them down there. You know, I look at the comments. But thank you for watching.